A dog, 400 kilometers, 3 months alone. And then, one evening, he's standing at the front door, dirty, exhausted, paws torn up. But he's there. He made it. How is that possible? How does a dog find his way home when we humans can't even navigate a strange city without a GPS? This isn't fantasy. This happens again and again in every country with dogs of all breeds, all sizes. And the answer to this is one of the most fascinating questions in all of animal research. We are here today to search together. We don't have all the answers. Some we will never have. But what we do know, that is already astounding enough. Stay with me, because by the end, you will see your dog with different eyes. I promise. Let's start with the most obvious, the nose. You know that dogs can smell well, but do you know how well? A human has about 5 to 6 million olfactory receptors. That sounds like a lot. A dog has up to 300 million. That's 60 times as many. That's another world. But numbers are abstract. Let me explain what that means. Imagine you're cooking soup. You smell the soup. A dog doesn't smell the soup. He smells every single ingredient. The carrot, the onion, the bay leaf, the water, the salt. And he smells who touched those ingredients, and when, and how they changed. That means your dog can recognize your scent in a trail, even if you walked there days ago. Even if it rained, even if other smells were layered over it. He can follow a scent trail for kilometers, recognize turns, assign directions. His nose is his GPS, just more precise, and always turned on. Researchers have trained dogs to recognize individual scent notes that were so diluted, a human wouldn't have been able to smell them even in an Olympic swimming pool. That is the nose. That is the first compass with which a lost dog reads the world. But smell alone doesn't explain everything. If a dog is 400 kilometers away and can't find a single thread of scent leading home, how does he navigate then? The answer lies deep in the body, deeper than anyone thought for a long time. Dogs can perceive the Earth's magnetic field. That's not a metaphor. That's biology. In 2013, researchers discovered that dogs prefer to align themselves along the north-south axis when defecating, an observation no one had expected. What that means, the dog's body is sensitive to magnetic fields. It registers them. It processes them. He has a kind of built-in compass, deep in the brain or in the magnetite crystals that have been found in some animals. Imagine you had an inner needle that always pointed north, one that never depended on a dead battery, one that isn't affected by tunnels or bad reception. That is what a dog possibly feels, every day, everywhere. And that means, even if he doesn't have a scent of home, he can feel the cardinal direction. He can say, "My home was in the west, so we'll go west." It sounds simple, but it is a precision instrument that evolution has refined over millions of years. And it works silently, invisibly, deep within the body you pet every evening. But wait, because the magnetic field explains the cardinal direction, it doesn't explain the distance, and not the exact path. For that, your dog needs something else, an inner map. Dogs build a map of the world in their mind. This is called cognitive mapping. Not with paper, not with GPS coordinates, but with a combination of experience, scent, distance, and direction. Every time your dog goes for a walk with you, his brain stores information. This smell here, this turn here, this tree here, these sounds there. He builds a three-dimensional map out of sensory impressions, a map that is more vivid than any paper map. And he doesn't forget this map. Dogs that have learned routes once can recall them even months later. The memory of places runs deep, deeper than words, deeper than conscious thought. What this means when a dog gets lost, he opens this inner map. He searches for familiar anchor points. A a smell that seems familiar, a turn that feels right, a sound he heard somewhere once. And step by step, sometimes over days, he navigates his way back to the only place that matters, to where the people are that he loves. And before we move on, pause for a moment. Close your eyes. Imagine how your dog smells the world. That's not all, because dogs also use light. More precisely, they use the position of the sun and the direction from which light falls on them. Birds do this. Bees do this. Some dogs seem to be able to do it too. The polarization of light in the sky changes depending on the time of day and cardinal direction. A brain sensitive enough to read these patterns can draw orientation from them. It's like assembling a compass and a clock out of light alone. We don't know for sure if all dogs can do this, but some observations point to it. Especially in open landscapes, where the sky is visible and the horizon wide, dogs seem to navigate more reliably. Maybe it's the light. Maybe it's what the light triggers in them. But there is another factor, one that no science can fully explain, and the one that personally touches me the most. Let me tell you about something that is observed again and again. Dogs that have lived in one place for years find that place, even if it has changed. If the house was remodeled, if the garden looks different, if new neighbors are there, they don't navigate to the address. They navigate to a kind of feeling that is connected to that place. A feeling of safety, of security, of people who love them. This feeling sits in the amygdala, the emotional center of the brain. Dogs have a pronounced amygdala. They remember feelings with an intensity that comes very close to that of a human. And smells, especially familiar smells, activate these memories directly. The scent of your house, of your clothes, of your hands, of your bed. That is not an abstract address. That is home. And home, for your dog, is a concrete, living feeling, not a concept. There are reports, documented, verified multiple times, of dogs that, after their owner died, returned to their last known location every day. Week after week, month after month. Not just out of habit, out of a kind of bond that has no words. A dog knows no address. He knows no city name. He doesn't know where he is on the map. But he knows where his people are, and he works, as long as he can, to get back there. Now I want to tell you about a phenomenon that has puzzled researchers for decades, something there isn't even a name for yet. Dogs sometimes know, before someone comes home, that they are coming home. Not when the car turns the corner, not when footsteps can be heard on the stairs, but minutes before, sometimes hours before. The dog gets up, goes to the door, sits down, waits. And shortly after, the owner arrives, who is just 20 kilometers away in the office. How do you explain that? Is it a learned pattern? A random coincidence? Some say, the dog smells the car. He hears the footsteps. He knows the routine. But some of these observations happened when the owner came at an unusual time, when the car was different, when there was no pattern. And then there is this question, what happens in the brain of a dog when he loses his human? There is an area in the brain that is activated by separation pain. In humans, it is called the anterior cingulate cortex. Dogs have this area, and it reacts, as imaging techniques show, to separation similarly to humans. That is not a metaphor. Those are measurements. That means your dog suffers. He mourns. He searches. Not just physically through the streets, also emotionally, with every step. And that is what drives him. Not just a sense of direction, not just the nose, but the one deep, unwavering longing for home. Let me explain something now that many don't know. Hearing. Dogs hear frequencies that we humans can no longer perceive, up to 65,000 hertz compared to our 20,000. That means they hear sounds that are completely silent to us. The quiet hum of a power line, the rush of a river behind a hill, the creaking of wood in a distant house. When a dog is searching, he hears the world in a resolution far superior to ours. He can recognize a familiar sound from an enormous distance, a familiar voice, a familiar noise from the garden. Hearing is his radar, and it works around the clock, even when he is sleeping. In fact, dogs wake up from sleep more deeply than humans when a familiar sound occurs. The familiar creak of the front door, the specific engine sound of the car. Their sleep is not a dive into nothingness. It is an alertness on another level. But all these tools, nose, magnetic field, cognitive map, light, hearing, don't work individually. They work together, in a system so complex that we still cannot fully simulate it today. Imagine navigating with your eyes, ears, nose, compass, and emotional memory all at the same time. That is what a dog does when he finds his way home. And all of this, without a map, without a phone, without language. Now to what fascinates me the most, the edge of the explainable. There are documented cases, checked, analyzed, confirmed by multiple sources, that none of these models can fully explain. Dogs that navigated through areas they had never set foot in. Dogs that ran in a straight line toward their home, even though no scent trail, no known terrain, and no visible path existed. Dogs that recognized a person after years of absence, among many people, in a strange environment. What happens in these moments? What activates in the animal sleeping in front of you? The honest answer from research, we don't fully know. And that is not a defeat of science. That is an invitation. An invitation to look even closer, to ask even deeper questions. Because the more we learn, the more the wonder grows. I want to tell you something now that you might not expect. The ability to find the way home, that is not just practical. It says something fundamental about the nature of a dog. It says, this dog belongs somewhere. He is not a wandering animal with no attachments. He has a home. He has people. He has a world he wants to return to. And he is willing to give everything to return there. Hunger, exhaustion, danger, loneliness. He bears it all, because at the end of the road is you. Think about that. When a dog walks hundreds of kilometers to get to you, what does that say about you? It says that to him, you are not just a human. You are his anchor, his direction, his north. You are the point his inner needle always points to. And that isn't biology. That is something else. That is love, measured in kilometers. The question of how dogs find their way home is, in the end, also a question about us. About what we are to other beings. About the connections that are stronger than distance. About the kind of home that is not a building, but a feeling. And maybe that is the actual answer to the puzzle. Not magnetic fields, not olfactory receptors, not cognitive maps. But this, your dog finds his way home because home is you. Because you are the one worth coming back to. No matter how far, no matter how long, no matter through what terrain. He comes back. He always comes back. And in that moment when he stands at the door, exhausted, disheveled, paws raw, you know, there is no distance that can defeat a true bond. That is the puzzle, and that is its answer. Tell us in the comments, have you ever experienced your dog finding his way home, or sensing that you were coming? These stories move us every time. We read everything. And if you know someone who has just lost their dog, send them this video. Maybe it helps to understand what is happening out there right now. Your dog is searching. He is finding a way. He is coming back. Until next time, and take care of your dog. One more thought before we close. About trust. If you have ever lost a dog, you know what this waiting feels like. This silence in the house. The empty spot on the sofa, the missing sound of paws on the floor. What you might not know, he is searching too, on his side of the path. He is not passive. He is not lost and given up. He is fighting. With his nose, with his inner compass, with the memory of your scent. With everything he has, he is searching for the way back. That changes the waiting. That turns powerlessness into a kind of quiet trust. He finds a way. Not always. Not everyone. But he tries. Always. And sometimes, more often than one would expect, he makes it. This moment when he returns is one of the most moving a human can experience with an animal. No reproach. No grudge. No asking where you were. Just this complete, unconditional reunion. As if the time in between had disappeared. As if only this moment were real. That is your dog. That is his way of loving. Completely. Without remainder. Without condition. No other being loves like this. Not in this way. Not with this consistency. And the puzzle we started with, perhaps it is no longer a puzzle. Love always finds a way home.